Welcome to the Deadlifts and Pizza podcast, where we discuss no BS fitness and nutrition.
We're your hosts. I'm Laura.
And I'm Jaime.
Let's get into it.
How are your pull-ups?
I don't like you, and I am so frustrated.
Feels so good. I'm basking in the glory. You're usually better better than me at everything. And for once,
I don't quite understand. Like, I don't know why you're better than me, and I don't know why I suck at them. And I'm good at almost everything. You know, when I go do something, I get better at it the more I do, and I just continually get better at it, and that's how it works. You know, right. So if I'm going to do this, like if I'm going to do pull-ups every day, you would think I'd get better at them
every day. Have you been doing them every day?
Yeah, like 5 to 6 days a week.
Dang. Are you doing them like as many as you can every day? Or are you doing like a couple here and there?
No, because if I do as many as I can every day, I won't do them every day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're just doing, so what are you doing? Like a couple here and there, or like, what does that look like?
So usually I do them all at once just because I'll forget, or at the end of the day, I'll be like, I don't want to do this now. So I usually do it all at once, but like tonight I didn't. I did 4 sets before I came in here, and then I did another 2 while I was waiting. But I'm doing 12 a day. So if that's 2 or 6 sets of 2 or 4 sets of 3, you know, somewhere around there, depending on the day and how I feel, because I don't always feel like
12 a day is really good, though. Why do you think you're not getting better? What's your metric that you're using to gauge that?
I can feel it when I pull myself up that it
feels just as hard.
It's not as easy as it should be.
Got it.
Yeah. Normally, like the dead hangs, I got better at those so quickly. You know, like the one day, I only do like 30 seconds of it, or 40. Like I started with 30 seconds, then I started doing 45, and then some days I do a minute, but I don't always do a minute. It's usually somewhere between 30 seconds, 45, because
that sounds awful. I don't want to hang. It sounds so boring. Just hang in there.
Yeah. So I mean, it's not boring, but it's not boring because I know I'm improving at something. So whenever I'm doing that, it's not boring to me. And then the one day I was like, let me see how long I can hold it. Or if I think it was like you shared a video, I think on Instagram, and the guy was talking about like everyone, like females should be able to hold themselves for a minute and a half. So I tried to see if I could hold myself for a minute and a half, and I could, and I was like, okay. And then I dropped, but I probably, like I said before, could probably hold it for close to 2 minutes, maybe not fully 2 minutes, but close to 2 minutes. And it's just getting easier and easier like that.
Are you completely relaxed hanging, or are you like shoulders retracted, tight core hanging?
I actually do both. I move back and forth because I'll move and I'll do things and because I get like bored.
Yeah. Right. So it is boring.
It is, I guess. But it's not boring in like I can do it every day. It's not like I hate doing it. It's only 30 seconds. The single hand, though, I don't know if this is me. I like to blame things on maybe my gene mutation or something, because I get really dizzy when I do certain things. I used to get dizzy with just doing the regular dead hang. So with the single arm, I definitely do. So I'll hold it there, and all of a sudden it'll be like the room is going like this. Like people can't see me, but it's like flipping. Right. As I'm holding it, and I'll start like moving around and moving my feet around because I'm like,
okay, Laura, that you started it off like almost like, man, I just make excuses. I blame things. Dude, that's literally because of whatever shit you got. Genetic mutation.
Yeah.
Crap.
That's not normal.
That's not an excuse. No, that's not normal.
No.
That is not normal.
So that happens when I hang there. It happens when I do certain things. All of a sudden I'll get like really dizzy.
Yeah, that's not good.
Yeah. So that's fun, but
cool.
Pull-ups suck.
Yeah.
And I hate you.
I was trying to do 15 a day, but with no real rhythm. I just did 5 like whenever I could. And what I've been doing to avoid feeling like it's too much is I just switch my grip. So if I did pull-ups one day, I'll do neutral grip chin-ups a different day. So it's more
Mm-hmm.
bicep. And I was kind of doing 3 sets of 5, but I would do those 3 sets of 5 whenever. And then so yesterday I started doing at 15, but rest pause until I get to 15, right? So I'm not really resting any more than like 20 seconds in between sets. So just do as many as I can, drop down, rest 20 seconds, do as many as I can. And yesterday I think I did 8, 2, 2, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It was like 8, 2, 2, 2, 1, something like that.
Yeah.
And that was good. And so I'm trying to figure out what I'm going to do. Am I going to do the same thing today, like as many as possible until I get to 15, but chin up style? Do you think that's too much? I'm not sure. Maybe I need a different.
It's up to you, like how you feeling. I also know that I don't have as much strength because I'm not eating as much food. But
yeah, I'm feeling that too. How's your cut going? Last night at Taekwondo was the first at least cardio time that I felt depleted. I felt like, oh, yep, there's nothing there.
it's okay. Like this morning I heavy squatted and I was like, I'm exhausted. Yeah. It's not, I haven't had any, well, I just lowered my calories a little bit more this week because I was eating 1,800 calories in a cut, which is very high. I was very surprised I was still losing weight. It's kind of crazy to me. So I'm eating more like 1,600 this week and I could feel it and I just feel really tired. You know?
Yesterday, I ate 1,500 calories and 150 grams of protein.
Yeah, I ate 1,600.
That's like hardly anything.
I ate 1,600 and 166 grams of protein.
Yeah, like that's like hardly any other food other than protein. That's like hardly anything.
Yeah. I'm eating like all whole foods, basically.
Yeah.
Although my carbs, so my dad got me that dried fruit again.
Really?
Yeah, and I'm like, shit. I'm doing so well.
What for? What's the occasion?
Easter. He gave it to me early.
Oh.
So I froze it, like you said, put it in the freezer, right?
Uh-huh.
Holy crap.
Well, it's dried fruit. You don't have to freeze dried fruit.
No, you do. It went bad on me last time. It didn't taste good anymore. It is so much better frozen to eat. So I didn't help myself at all. Like the frozen,
it's like it probably takes longer to eat and you kind of gnaw on it. It probably makes it a little sweeter too.
It does. The frozen kiwis.
Oh man.
It was like, I'm like, I don't need dessert ever again. This is my favorite thing ever. It was so good.
And do you eat it more slowly when it's in the freezer, like the friction of eating it, but also like because it's frozen?
So at first I put it in the freezer and I put it, I totally forgot it was in there. And then the one day I saw it when I was getting something else out and I'm like, I wonder what these taste like frozen. And so I grabbed one and I'm like, oh no. And then I'm like, now I'm going to grab it because anytime I go in the freezer, I'm going to see it. So then I put it in my outside freezer, in my garage freezer. Not outside, but my garage freezer. And I'm trying to just use it for like a pre-workout snack. But yeah, I've had a little bit of it. But it's not like I'm not downing it, had like a couple pieces a day.
Yeah.
So good.
Yeah, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep, just chipping away over here. You know what I'm starting to think about is, and it feels like just yesterday we had this conversation, but like I'm moving soon and my equipment's going to be gone. And I'm starting to go back into that phase of like, okay, what am I going to do? What am I going to do when my equipment's gone? Like, what should my routine be?
Yeah. When are you sending it back? Or when you?
I don't know yet. We're kind of delayed right now with all the stuff going on in the government. We don't actually have orders yet or a date.
Oh, okay.
And so that's all in the process. We're trying to get an exception for all of that. But theoretically, it should be like sometime between mid-May and the beginning of June, which is like an entire program from now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's like 1 6 to 8 week program.
Yeah.
And then it's gone. And I start to think about like, all right, what am I going to do? And then it's not going to arrive on the other side of the world for months. I mean, you know what I mean?
You're gonna have to get
So
good at those pull-ups. Do you have like a
I
pull-up
know.
bar?
I was thinking about getting some like a pull-up bar that I can because I really don't want to stop doing pull-ups. I feel like if I could even just do pull-ups, push-ups, and like pistol squats,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I would hit a lot of things and I could just come up with a really basic routine.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I got to figure that out.
Then
I
you'll
got
really
time
be
though.
better than me at pull-ups because you could just do so many of them.
I'm going to be able to do so many. I remember last time I moved 2 years ago, I thought in my head, that's okay. There's always somewhere to pull up on, like even if it's a tree branch. And that did not work out well because there's really not always somewhere to pull up on. And if it's a tree branch, that shit hurts your hands.
Yeah,
So no, because I did that.
Yeah.
There was a couple times I was hanging from a tree and I was like, this sucks.
Right now, my main goal is losing weight and fat and whatever and looning out. So
Yeah.
pull-ups are like a secondary goal. But after I'm done, I'm going to make sure I can beat you at pull-ups. I will do whatever I have to do.
You won't get there.
I won't let you win, even if it takes
I'm
me
already
a
winning.
year. No, you won't. Like at the end, I will have more than you.
No.
Whatever the end is, it could be a year from now, it could be 2 years from now, but I will eventually beat you because
We'll be in our 90s and I'm going to be repping out pull-ups, sending you videos. Like, this is the real end, Laura. Can you do this?
because I won't let that happen.
Yeah.
You know?
No, that's not going to happen. I feel very confident. I feel very confident.
I see it as a challenge, because almost everything I just am so much better at you then. So like this one, it gives me a challenge and it's fun.
We'll bring it on. Bring it on because you will not win this one. I'm keeping it. I'm keeping it. What else you got?
Well, I was going to ask you because you were talking about leaving me voice messages saying that you might try the carnivore diet. So I want to know if you're actually going to do that.
In a shocking turn of events, Jaime, the preacher of flexible dieting, is going carnivore. Not really. I was talking to Laura about trying it for like 2 weeks minimum. And it's funny. And the only reason I was thinking about doing it in the first place is because I have a friend that's doing it. This friend that likes more extreme approaches. And this friend lost like 12 pounds in 2 weeks. And now we know logically that a lot of that is water weight. Also, they're cutting calories naturally. Also, they're eating more whole foods. Granted, it's not, plant-based whole foods. It's meat, but they're still going from eating a mostly processed diet to like, a whole foods diet. So there's lots of things that you can account that for. But in my mind, I just started thinking about the experiment of it. Like, first of all, it would be nice to just like purely selfishly, aesthetically, it would be really nice to just see the pounds whoosh away. You know what I mean? So that would be cool. And then there's also this part of me, and this kind of brings in one of the topics I want to talk about today, this kind of idea of like transitioning off of it. Cause it would be like a 2 week maybe. Also, this friend and other people I've talked to who either done carnivore or keto, they always talk about that high that they kind of feel once they're in ketosis. You know what I mean? And I don't know what that feels like. And I've always kind of wondered, like, what do you mean? I feel like I can't talk to it unless I really know. So actually doing it just to see what that feels like. But then the idea of transitioning back and seeing if how realistic it is to be able to maintain that kind of weight loss, right? My logic tells me that a lot of that would come back with water weight, but I wonder if it would be possible to do like a 2 or 3 week extreme calorie cutting diet, cut all carbs, and then maintain the weight loss that you get from that. And based on some of the studies I've been seeing recently, I'm not as concerned. I used to be like, oh no, muscle mass loss. But it really seems like if you're eating enough protein and you're strength training, that you're not going to really lose that much muscle in relation to fat, whether you're doing it rapid or not. So I'm not really worried about that piece of it. If that was like a big detriment, I would be. So anyway, I'm considering it, but I haven't fully come around because that shit sounds miserable and hard.
Yeah. I was like, maybe I'll do it with her. But then I'm like, vitamin C, dude. vitamin C,
Well,
vitamin like I'm going to have to take so many. I'm going to have to take a multivitamin.
I was just reading actually an Alan Aragon research review article thing about kind of, and it was January 2025. So it was a recent one that was kind of like summarizing what we know about the carnivore diet so far, and those things. And it was basically saying, like, in terms of cardiometabolic health and then vitamin deficiency, cardiometabolic health was definitely worse. People that followed the carnivore diet, we can imagine. But when a lot of the land based, like animal fat, was replaced with ocean animal fats, like fatty fish and stuff like that, that seemed to kind of go away. So we don't have to worry about cardiometabolic risk as much when you make sure that a lot of the meat you're eating is fish or marine based. And then it talked about nutrient deficiency, and vitamin C was one of them. But it also was saying that for people who supplement and just take like a supplement, it seems like people are kind of okay.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
If for a short term, I guess it wouldn't be that big of a deal. So I would just have to make sure to take vitamins. But you know how I am about like micronutrients and stuff. But the big reason is because I know how sensitive my stomach is. And if I did that for 2 weeks, I would probably, like when I came out of it, even though it's only 2 weeks, when I came out of it, I would probably get so bloated once I added in like vegetables and fruit back in and all of the different things back in and things with fiber. I would probably it would probably mess up my digestive system for like a month. And then I'm going to feel fat all summer from being bloated. And I'm going to be like, this was stupid.
You think your bloating will last all summer? You don't think you could manage that within like a week? Slowly
No, my
reintroduce?
stomach, like when my stomach gets all messed up, it's long lasting. Yeah. Yeah, I don't have
Okay.
your stomach, Jamie.
I have an iron stomach. I win.
Yeah.
I win at stomachs.
You do. That one I'll give you.
Okay. I have an elite stomach.
I do not.
Well, I don't know, man, because you're telling me if I do it, I've got to do it alone. So I don't know, man.
I'll be like, okay, I'll do like fruit. I'll do the fruit and meat diet.
Yeah. And I think that I would do a modified version too. I don't think I would. And so once I get an idea in my head, I don't necessarily automatically do it, but it's like it kind of festers there for a little bit and I can tell it's festering. Because like with a comment I made earlier, I had 1,500 calories yesterday, 150 grams of protein. I've almost been like thinking as if I'm going to do it by like just eating a lot of meat. And so like in my mind, it's like I'm like, all right, well, let me just make this, I'm going to keep my calories low, but let me make this like piece of the pie of this meat. And even if I go over my calories in eating just pure protein, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I might do like a modified version of it where I include fruit and like green vegetables, or I might do, I was actually considering doing, and this wouldn't be a version of it at all, but just cutting out like all grains and only fruits and vegetables being carbohydrate sources.
That's what I was thinking. Like, if I do it, I'll do meat, fruit, and vegetables, and that's it. Like those will be my, yeah. That's when that's kind of like what I've just ate the last 2 days.
Yeah, but I would probably put a limit in terms of like how much. It wouldn't just be like as much fruit and vegetables as you want, because I would eat like so many bananas and it would be crazy. But I would eat as much like meat as I wanted and protein as I wanted.
And if you ate like that, that would actually be really healthy. So there would be no issue with it. You could do it for longer than 2 weeks.
Yeah, I wouldn't be getting any plant-based sources of fat though. So I wouldn't be getting that variety really.
Plant-based sources of fat?
Yeah. It'd be all animal fat.
Well, you would have fish too.
Yeah.
So you'd get like the omega-3s and things.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we'll see. I'll let you know if I continue to evolve on that. Right now, I kind of am thinking, and again, the point would be like experimentation, but as soon as I get practical and logical in my brain, I tend to move away. Like I'm not a big experimental on myself person, but now I'm in my head like, well, if I just keep, if I can, I can essentially get the same, when we're talking about like fat loss kind of more rapidly, I can essentially get the same effects if I just keep my carbs and fats relatively low portion of my calories. So if I eat like the right pie of carbs, fats, and proteins, then my calories will end up being 1,500-ish, but don't have a limit on protein. So I can eat as much as I want, actually, as long as it's like coming from protein, and just keep my carb and fat grams like pretty low,
Yeah.
or maybe even lower than I originally told you before, and really just like pile up on protein.
Yeah.
So I don't know. We'll see. I'm
Yeah.
playing around with the thought. I'm definitely still fat loss cut, but trying to I don't know, figure that out. Because the other thing my friend says is how much like energy he has and stuff. And I'm just like, how? Like part of me kind of wants to know, what do you mean energy when you don't eat carbs? Like, I don't understand. Like, I want to know how that feels. I want to be able to say liar and mean it, because I did it and I know you're lying.
Especially in a workout, you know?
Yeah.
Not like throughout the day, I think you could manage, but when you're going to work out and you have no carbs,
Yeah.
no glycogen stored in your muscles.
Yeah.
What
And you know what's funny is our brain uses glycogen too, right? So it's
Yeah.
not just your muscles. So something that I was thinking about yesterday, because I was in Taekwondo, so it's a mix of using your brain, because I'm studying for my black belt test, so I have to remember all these forms and I'm not good at it. And then also high intensity exercise. What were you going to say?
No, I was just saying, but why do they say that you think so clearly when you have no
I
carbs
know.
for your brain?
It's something about the ketones, bro. It's like, I don't know. I feel like I need to know so that I can say like what feels different, because yesterday I told you it was the first time in Taekwondo that I actually felt like, okay, I'm depleted, but it was in that too. Like, I practiced for an hour yesterday, my forms 1 through 6. I knew them. I was going through them in my living room. Like, all right, I got this. I'm ready. I go into Taekwondo and he was like, okay, random pick. And he starts quizzing me on all of them. My brain was empty. Like, I couldn't remember anything.
I hate that.
And I was and I was like embarrassed. I was like, I swear I practiced today, but it felt like I felt depleted in every sense.
Yeah.
And I'd had like maybe 100, probably less. I probably had like 70 to 80 grams of carbs at that point. I under ate for sure yesterday.
That's me when I have to, like, okay, like the last podcast. It's like, okay, we have to talk about this and that. Like I feel like I have to do a presentation and it all just disappears out of my brain. When we're just having a conversation, I'm fine.
I mean, maybe it was because 2 people were watching me. I think that was part of it too. It was like both of them were standing there with their arms crossed, like staring at me. Like it was like performance time. So I know that had something to do with it, but I've gotten a little better with doing that in front of people. But I don't know. Maybe it should be a test going in, because I'm supposed to test for my black belt May 24th. That would be an awful test. Okay, maybe I should test it before then and see, like, what if I'm brain dead and I like fail, because but apparently I won't be, because of the ketones.
I kind of do want to see what people are talking about and what that feels like. I do, but I don't want.
Like I said, I want to be able to be like, liar. You are a liar, because I did it.
Also, I might not sleep. I might not sleep for 2 weeks. You know, there's that too.
Dude,
my carbs are low. I'll be like, it's when my carbs are low. It's like my body thinks something terrible is going to happen all the time. It's like I'm on really high alert. Like my cortisol is too high. Yeah. So I just, like, when I'm sleeping, I'll just wake up and I can't fall back asleep. And it's not like where, because sometimes I can't sleep because my brain won't shut off and I'm overthinking, and the times like that happen all the time. It's not like that. It's not. I could be thinking
You're just
about
awake.
Nothing. I'm just awake and stressed for no reason.
Oh yeah, that's cortisol for sure. Yeah. But again, the ketones, bro. Maybe that would be another thing that, like, oh my God, I'm sleeping great and thinking clearly and I have all this energy and this is amazing.
Not me.
Doubtful.
Yep.
I still think you should do it with me.
Maybe I'll try.
Misery loves company. It's funny because when I was reading this, it wasn't a meta-analysis. It was more like a summary of the research that we have thus far. One of the things it said was like the majority of people that get really into carnivore, as if it's like a, like a thing, like the people that get really into diets and they let it define them. Most of them were vegan at one point.
No.
Because but it was highlighting, it was like, these are usually people that like extremes. So whatever the extreme thing is that they've read about or heard about or seems to be working for other people, they will delve in and they make it their entire personality. And a lot of them were, vegan.
That's funny.
At one point. Yeah.
One extreme to the other.
For real. Oh my
Like,
God, for
oh,
real.
vegan was horrible. Let's just eat all of the meat. You know,
Yeah.
instead of eating no meat, let's just eat only meat. Like, why
Only.
don't we just balance that out a little? You
No.
know?
Nope.
I wanted to talk about fat, like on our last podcast, we've been talking, just this conversation, talking a lot about like diets and fat loss and all of that. And it's kind of like this, it's really my, like, I like talking about this, but generally speaking, it's my least favorite topic. Like, I like talking about training more. I like talking about that kind of stuff more.
Yeah.
And when I have clients, it's one of my least favorite things too, you know, because they're always worried about the scale, or I don't know. I have much more fun helping someone get a PR than I do having them lose a couple pounds.
For sure. Yeah.
You know, or helping them with their form. Or one of my favorite things is when they're like, oh, I used to have pain in my shoulder and now it's gone. You know, those kinds of things are my favorite. So thinking of that, it makes me like really, I don't know how to describe it, but like, I'm kind of happy that we have weight loss drugs now, because that can take care of that part, you know. And it's like, well, just go take the medicine and, you know, just
let's come back and get strong. Just go take a shot. Then we don't have to worry about it anymore.
And then, you know, we don't have to worry about that part, and we'll just worry about the building muscle and the getting strong part, you know.
That's
funny. How I'm feeling about that. Like, it's like, okay, well, I mean, it's like one of those, it's a tool that I think can be helpful for a lot of people. But I also feel like it's just like anything else. If you ever really think about it, any invention, any discovery, anything that comes out, it solves a problem, but creates another one. Mm-hmm. Almost everything, right? Mm-hmm. It's usually not related to what the problem or that they solved is. It could be something random, but it usually creates some other kind of problem. And I honestly think in like 10 to 20 years, we're going to have issues from people taking it and not doing it the right way, and people being under muscled and, you know, bone loss and all of that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, I think what you're generally feeling, it makes sense, because it's not that I know what you mean. Like, I like to say I'm a trainer first and a nutrition coach second. Like, I know how to do all of that, and I absolutely can, but my passion is more in like the training and helping fit nutrition in around that to help support the training and then all of that stuff. But what's really hard about nutrition is when it's hard. It's like, if people just do things, here's all these things I know, here's all the knowledge, here's all the strategies, do them. It's fine. I don't mind it at all. Oh, that's not working anymore. Let's try this. Okay, you did that and now it works. Great. But when it's not working, it has much more to do with the person, like mentally, or if it's not mental, there really are underlying things that, like, usually I can't necessarily solve. Like, I can't fix for you, right?
Yeah.
And a lot of the times we're working with populations of people and women who have done all of this before. They've been through the ringer with like diet and exercise and trying to change their body and whatever. And so that, I see what you mean. Like, if you have something that kind of addresses those things and it kind of makes everything a little bit easier, that's like a huge benefit.
Because you can still coach them through it and tell them to eat more protein, whatever, do all the things. But they might have a little bit easier time following that than if they weren't. It's a tool that can help, I guess.
Yeah.
And make it a little bit easier.
I was just talking to somebody yesterday, brand new person, like we just met virtually on Facebook. Mm-hmm. And she was basically saying that she's lost 90 pounds with the shot. It sounds like she has some history with training. She said she used to do bodybuilding. She currently lifts. I took a brief look at her profile. She looks like a relatively active person. And she said she's been weaning off, and in 2 weeks is her last dose. And she's trying to kind of, like, she's a little worried. She said she's already gained 10 pounds. She says she's been eating bad. And I was like, well, what does eating bad mean? Like, eating like too many calories, or just eat, like, I don't know, like trying to figure out, like, what does that mean to you? And I didn't really get a straightforward answer, but it really got me thinking, because I essentially, like, I probably was the most salesy I've ever been. I was like, you're weaning off in 2 weeks. We should work together. I can't stress enough how important it is to make sure you have the right strategy in place when you're weaning off something like this. So yeah, what do you think? What do you think about, because a lot of times it's not, so there's a couple different camps too, because I see people microdosing basically long-term. Like, I'm just going to keep this going, and this is going to be kind of my forever thing to kind of keep me where, and then, but also maybe training and all this stuff after. But for people who have just like lost a ton of weight and now we're just going to go like off of it, what's really like the best strategy and plan to make sure that you can kind of maintain your results?
That's really hard because you didn't lose it in the way that you had to work for it the same way. So because of that, you haven't, how do I say it? You didn't get all the tools and the things that you need to do it when you're not on the medication. Right?
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, exactly. Because you lose it by eating less, essentially.
Yeah.
But you're not trying that hard to eat less. You have this thing that's helping you. So then you go into trying to maintain it by doing the same thing, which is eating less. Mm-hmm. But all of a sudden you're ravenous and starving and you're just trying to eat less. And that's the same shit we've always done.
Yeah.
Trying to eat less. It doesn't work.
Yeah, so it's really hard. That's one of the hard things about it too. It's like, I don't think you should be on it forever. You need to learn how to actually get off of it. Strategy wise, I don't know.
I think working with somebody would actually be really, really, because it depends too on like what they did. So I don't know a bunch about this person and how they lost the 90 pounds. Maybe they were, we talk a lot about doing it the right way. So the best thing to do would be to lose the weight while you're building all those strategies so that you have those for when you're weaning off. But let's assume she's in a position where she wasn't doing that. She was just eating normally and like lost the weight. I think it is so, so important to work very closely with somebody and actively helping you make sure that you're strength training and building a really good foundation of discipline in terms of exercise, as well as making sure, because this person also said, I have a hard time getting enough protein. I really struggle getting enough protein. And that like bugs me so much because I'm like, I have a hard time with. I'm like, it's one of those things where just do it, right? The things are there. Drink the things, eat the things. I know it's not that fun sometimes. Do it anyway.
You have control over it. You can do it. You got it.
Yeah. Even like I feel more empathetic towards people who have an insanely busy lifestyle and they're like, I have a really hard time working out. Okay. I don't feel that bad for you when you say I have a hard time getting protein. Like Fairlife protein shakes 3 times a day will do it. You know what I mean? Like there are no.
You just don't want to choose that because you would rather have the other thing.
Exactly. Let's call it what it is. I struggle getting enough protein because I just don't enjoy it and I'm not prioritizing it. Yeah. Cool. Now we can we can work with that. Yeah.
Yeah. Let's figure out why you're struggling. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Anyway, I thought that was funny when I think about it because I'm not like it's one of those things. It's like I'm neutral on it, not like for it, not against it, but I do like that. Like I like to focus on training, so if I can help people with that, and I don't have to do the other part.
Yeah,
make my life easier too. It's a tool I can use also. Yeah, I don't know if I would ever use it, like just like microdose with it or whatever. I like a challenge and I like to feel accomplished when I do something. So if I lost weight and I didn't like and I was doing something like that, I wouldn't feel as accomplished. I'm not saying that other people shouldn't if they do that. Yeah. Just me personally, that's how I am. Like I like a challenge. I like to feel, you know what I mean? I'm never one of those people who likes to like any kind of like advantage or to cheat in like anything or whatever. I like to, I don't know how to explain it, but yeah.
Not me. I'm a cheater.
Yeah, you're a cheater.
I'll take any advantage I can get.
Not me. No. Like I didn't win then. It wasn't fair. You know, if I win, it doesn't mean the same thing.
I get that. Yeah. Don't feel it. Also,
Yeah.
before we move on to the next thing, going in with, because I was going to say, yes, strength training, working with somebody, making sure you're eating enough protein, all those things need to be in place. But I think also you're going to gain weight back. I think that's part of it too, is like the mindset is like not assuming that you're going to be able to maintain it.
Yeah.
If you lost 90 pounds, I would actually expect that you would gain back somewhere between like 10 and 20, but then maybe being able to maintain that. And that would be huge success, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Especially if it was 90 pounds.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
How long was she on it? Do you know?
I don't know. 90 pounds. So
I have another question.
a year?
How do people feel when they're on it? Because you're eating so low calories. Do you feel, because part of the reason that I have a hard time with a cut isn't just resisting food. It's that I feel like crap because my calories are so low. How do people feel when they're eating?
I think that depends too, because like I told you, I have a client who is on it at a small dose, and she doesn't actually really need to lose weight. She's pretty good. She's doing it for a couple of reasons that are not worth talking about, but she's doing it and she feels amazing.
Really?
But she's strength training. She's making sure that her calories are kept up. So she's actually not really changing that much how many calories she was eating. She's having to kind of force herself to make sure they stay, you know, in a good range. And she is the one that said, I don't know how to explain it, but it almost feels like I was sick before and now I'm not. Like she wakes up with energy and all this stuff. But she says her mother-in-law took it and did not feel the same way, actually felt worse. But I think it also depends how low calories you're actually eating, because, you know, we know it's not like a diet. We just know it makes you less hungry. So I think it depends on that. I think it depends on how active you're expecting to be. Some people are really sedentary and other people are really active. So, and then I think that I've even tried to look up the ways that people feel on it, and it seems to be a really mixed bag. Some people feel this like elated high that my client feels, and other people feel like garbage, you know?
It's just must be how your body responds to it. Everyone's different.
I think so. And I'm really curious, as more and more people get on it and we start to have more and more data and more studies to kind of see the effects, I'm curious if there will be any long-term kind of like negative effects of it.
Yeah.
But I guess we'll just have to see.
Yeah, I don't know, like side effects, actual side effects. I don't really know if there's going to be anything like super major over time, but I would say muscle loss.
Right.
And which muscle loss, like I don't know if this is just might be me pulling this out of my ass or something. So this might not be true. I just feel like I've heard this somewhere. Either way, I believe this is true. Is that having more muscle is way more important for your health than having less fat, right?
Yes.
So
yeah,
it's health
to a degree, right?
I mean,
to a degree,
you could only
like if somebody's obesity is a limiting factor in their health, but they also have a lot of muscle, it would be really important for that person to lose a lot of fat.
Yeah. But normally if someone is overweight or obese, they may have a lot of muscle, but it's not always healthy muscle, because there's a difference between having, you know, your muscles can actually have fat inside of them, like visceral fat and things. So there's a difference between having healthy skeletal muscle and just having more muscle. So like people who are obese, they say they do have a decent amount of muscle, but it's not always healthy muscle. And I think that's the difference. So not just having more muscle, but actually healthy skeletal muscle.
It's like a ribeye instead of a sirloin.
Yeah, exactly. You don't
Wagyu steak instead of a tenderloin.
Yes, that's how I picture it. But yeah,
I tell clients all the time, I'd rather have you 20 pounds heavier, but able to get off the toilet on your own when you're 80 or not break a bone when you fall, than like frail and thin. And bones.
It's not just that. Like if you think of any disease, like any chronic disease, or, you know, cancer, diabetes, Alzheimer's, all of them can be prevented by having more muscle. Not fully, you know, you can't prevent something fully, but it can help prevent all of those things.
Yeah.
Because your muscles are like your glucose disposal So,
Yeah.
all of the things where people say, oh, carbs are bad for this and carbs are bad for that. And carbs, well, really just all you need to do is resistance train, and you don't have to worry
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Yeah. God,
Mhm.
whenever we talk about it, I'm like, it's magical.
It is. It really is. I want to shout it from the rooftops because everyone's always worried about losing weight or this or that or seriously, work out.
Yeah.
It's the best thing you can do for your health, I believe.
Yep.
If this isn't where I was going with this, but I know we've talked about this before. But when it comes to, how about we'll do it like we'll do two. When it comes to maintaining weight, so not losing weight because that's different, but when it comes to like maintaining a healthy weight and being like at a healthy weight, and you know how they say it's like 80-20, 80 diet, 20
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
exercise. So we'll talk about that. And then also when it comes to health, do you think it's 80-20 diet and fitness? I don't know what you want to say, working out, whatever.
Are you asking me? Oh.
Yeah. What do you think?
So it's interesting because we just had this talk on the summer shred last, and we were saying like, if you really have to attack your diet for weight loss, right? Like if you want to go into a cut, you need to do it through your diet. And I was like just thinking about that afterwards because I was just thinking about how nuanced this is. And like, depending on which episode you listen to or what person you listen to, it is very nuanced because yes, you are going to see the best results if you attack it through diet, especially if you're already relatively lean. But it's also like very true that high energy flux lifestyle, people who are just very active and not working out all the time necessarily, they just value activity. Those people eat a lot. You know what I mean? And so I really do think that it depends. I think it depends on the person. I think it depends on the goals. I think it depends on where you're coming from. I really think it's a mix. I don't think I could give it a percentage.
No.
I think it depends. I would say for maintaining, it's probably higher, like more like 50-50, maybe even exercise sometimes gets a bigger chunk of it. Honestly.
For maintenance, I think it does. I think it
does. But also if you take somebody who needs or wants to lose a decent chunk of body fat, and even if they don't really make any dietary changes and they're still eating, let's say they're eating like 2,500 calories a day and they're not losing any weight. If that person were to suddenly become not just work out and like hit their steps, but like a high energy flux person, they would lose weight even if they didn't change their diet. But the friction from somebody going from a sedentary lifestyle to becoming a high energy flux person lifestyle is way more than just working out 3 days a week and hitting your steps. That's like you're biking to this and you're doing that and you're playing volleyball on the beach and you're twiddling when you're sitting, and like I think the friction is higher, which is where attacking it through diet is going to be important
for quicker, but long term, I think actually
teaching yourself how to become
the other way I think about it is when I was a child, right? When I was a kid, there were very few overweight children. There was maybe one or two in my whole class, right? And now it's a lot more common, right? For kids to be overweight. And we had the same junk food, right? I ate not well when I was a child. All the sugary cereals, the Pop-Tarts, the Gushers.
Almost ate worse then, as a society.
I think we did. I think we were less focused on health, and everyone thought it was healthy. It would be like, oh, there's fruit snacks. There must be made out of fruit. Or, my mom, I would have all the sugary cereals. We had all the knockoffs. So it would be things like Apple Dapples instead of Apple Jacks or something. I don't know.
Apple Dapples.
But the one she would draw the line at was Fruity Pebbles. Like I could have all the other cereals, but Fruity Pebbles wasn't allowed. She had these weird like things where she would get fixated on something.
Well,
like
that's too far.
One's too sugary. That's too far. But I did not eat well at all, and I wasn't overweight, and most of the kids weren't. But I was active. I was always moving, and most kids were. And even if it was winter time, I was still playing inside with my toys and doing things. And I wasn't on a phone or a tablet or just sitting in one place, not moving for hours. So I really do think that's the biggest difference when it comes to kids and being overweight. I don't think it's the food as much as it is the inactivity and the electronics that we have now.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I know kids aren't the same as adults, but I would use that as partly evidence of I think that exercise matters
For
more
sure.
than people think, because we're always thinking
Yeah.
of food. And
Yeah.
and then when it comes to health, I actually think I think it's, I don't know what percentage I would give it. Maybe 60-40.
Really?
Yeah.
I was going to say like 50-50.
I think, because I mean, the protein part's important for the building muscle, but I really do think like having more muscle on your body is so much healthier than it's like your defense mechanism against so much.
Yeah. But when you're talking about like diet versus exercise and health and saying 60-40, are you talking about overall calorie intake or quality of the nutrition that you're eating?
Both.
Because
Because
I
if
feel
you're
like I would
overeating,
say it's more 50-50.
because the other reason is because if you are like, say you're Michael Phelps. Remember, did you ever hear the thing about how much food that guy ate?
No.
I don't remember, but it was an insane amount of calories every day,
Uh-huh.
right? And you know how fit he is, right?
Yeah.
Because he was just swimming all the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah.
So I don't know how true that's what he said. I don't know. But I think if you are exercising a ton, it gives you that, it's really hard to overeat. Like Michael Phelps could eat 7,000 calories or something. I don't remember what it was, but it was an
Yeah.
insane amount of food. You know what I
That's
mean?
insane amount. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was that high. I'm
I have a
exaggerating.
question.
Yeah.
It's kind of random, but not really. Do you think that, okay, so we're talking about the pieces of the pie and like the amount of like carbs and fats.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that if I or avatar person was eating like 1,500 calories
Mm-hmm.
versus 1,800 calories,
Mm-hmm.
but the difference from 15 to 1,800 calories is in protein alone,
Mm-hmm.
right? So the carbs and fat grams are the same between the two.
Yeah.
Do you think eating 1,800 calories with that much protein that I would have more energy?
I
I
think
know
so.
I'd be more full and satiated. I know I would probably have the same fat loss results. Do you think I would still lose fat? Yes, based on the studies that we say, right? Do you think I would have energy? Do you think I would notice the same? You know how we talk about, oh, when I go into a cut, it's hard to do this, that, and the other, and I'm not as strong, and blah, blah, blah.
I don't know, because protein is rarely ever used for
Right.
energy. So I don't know where it goes. Like if you
Yeah.
overeat it, where does it go? Because it
What's
seems to
happening?
not be
Yeah.
turned into fat, but where does it go? I don't know.
Right. I don't know
I
either.
don't know how to answer that, because it's logically I would say yeah, but
Well,
why?
if you get, there's a threshold. Like a lot of people think like, oh, you eat more protein, you'll build more muscle. That's only true up to a certain point and then it
Yeah.
levels off, right? And
Yeah.
that threshold is somewhere between 0.7 to like 1.2 grams of protein
Yeah.
per pound of body weight, right? And it literally just kind of caps off. So at that point, the benefits of eating like an astronomical amount of protein are really just thermic, right? And
Mm-hmm.
satiety. I'm going to feel more full. The thermic effect is higher. I can still lose body fat and eat more, blah, blah, blah. Right. So, like the rest of the amino acids that your body's not utilizing for organ muscle turnover and, whatever, are going to be peed out. Your liver like processes it out and you urinate those amino acids out. So, I guess, I still am like, okay, so that happens. And then I guess the bulk of it, you poop out. Yeah. I'm like thinking, like, where does it
Where does
where
it
does it
go?
go? What is
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, it's not, protein is used for so many things. It's not just building muscle, and all the amino acids have different roles and different things that they do. So you can you could eat like a ton of protein and you might be using almost all the amino acids in different things in your body that you
Well,
might.
it's mainly like organ and tissue turnover.
Yeah. Yeah.
And there is an amount that you just like, we don't store them.
No, you don't. Yeah, you don't store them the same
Because
way as
they've
you
done
do.
like nitrogen tests in people's pee, and once you get beyond that threshold, there's more of them in there. Like your body's processing them out. It's like,
Yeah,
okay,
so you
we
just
have a
pee it
ton.
out.
Yeah.
Weird.
But the thermic effect is just so ridiculous. Like the fact that you can eat so many more calories and protein alone and just not gain fat,
Yeah.
actually lose it, is just crazy.
Yeah.
And
I
so
don't
I
know.
wonder if I would still lose the same amount of body fat, but I'd be more satiated, how would my energy levels be? How would my recovery and all of that be? I would think it would still be low,
I don't know if
but
it would make a
then
huge difference.
but then you've got these people on keto and carnivore feeling great and they're not having any carbs.
Yeah.
So it's all very confusing, Laura.
Our
The
body
more you know, the more you don't know.
our bodies adapt to whatever. So if you stop giving it carbs, it just, I don't know.
The ketones. I don't know, maybe
Yeah.
that should be my experiment.
I actually do have one other thing. I'm sorry, I'm stealing all the topics today. They're just coming to me as I'm thinking because they're
That's
things
a
I've
good
been
thing.
thinking out through the week. Another one is I'm gonna bring this up again because I've brought it up before. And now other people agree with me. I've seen people post about it. So I'm like, okay, I'm not the only one. And it's Dr. Stacy Sims and her working out fasted thing.
Yeah.
And the clip that they showed
That
wasn't even
podcast. Yep.
the clip that they showed wasn't even what I heard her say, which was basically like if you work out fasted as a woman, our bodies don't store glycogen the same way. What do you mean? I so that when you go into your workout, you're just going to burn your muscle tissue for energy. When I hear stuff like that, my alarm bells go off. I'm just like,
Did you listen to the whole podcast?
that one, the one that people showed the clip to? No, this is a different one that I listened to. And I remember just when I hear stuff, especially when people talk in absolutes, I kind of like my alarm bells start to go off. And I'm not saying that I think that she's a quack or something, but I'm just so when you science, okay. So when you eat carbohydrates, it gets broken down into glucose and put into your bloodstream, right? And then your body takes it, your body releases insulin to get it into your cells to be used as energy. Extra will be stored as fat. Or when you do a workout, you have to make sure that you're doing like a intense type of workout. When you do that, you use glycogen in your muscles, and then some of the carbs will go to that into your muscles as glycogen. That's another way you can store it. And your liver stores like 100 grams ish of glycogen also, which usually overnight fasting, I think that's where it gets released a lot to keep your blood sugar stable or whatever. So the only way to deplete my muscles of glycogen is to use them intensely. So if I am eating a dinner that has carbs and I am not doing a workout after that, in the morning, my muscles should have glycogen in there for my workout. So what is she talking about, Jaime? I don't understand.
I don't have an answer for you on that one because I have been actually meaning to go look up a lot of the studies that she's peer reviewed and have been on and stuff, just like 114 or something on PubMed. I wanted to look through them because I want to see exactly what she's seeing in terms of like the data.
Yeah.
I know that one of her reasonings is bringing cortisol levels down.
But that's the other thing. Okay. Cortisol is supposed to be high in the morning because it has an inverse relationship to melatonin. So at night, you want your melatonin high, and then in the morning you want your cortisol high. If you blunt it too early, I would feel like that would mess up your sleep cycle.
Well, it's not about like eating immediately decreases cortisol. It's that cortisol is supposed to be elevated in the morning and then it's supposed to gradually come down. And when we fast, and like don't eat and work out and then, continue to not eat, that is like cortisol wants to stay elevated throughout the day. And that's where you start to see, the imbalance.
But I also feel like anytime you stress your body out in ways like that, it usually has a positive effect if it's in a short term, right? So when you're exercising, you are raising your cortisol.
Right.
But that's going to help
in a
you
positive way, because instead of just raising it, you're like shooting it through the roof and then it comes back down. It's kind of like you're teaching it how to be adaptable.
Yes. And then it's kind of like that dopamine, right? That we talked about, where if it gets too high, then this level has to go up and whatever. So to keep it balanced, it probably lowers even more after a workout. I don't know. I'm just making that up. I don't know if that's true, but I would think like your body usually knows how to fight these things. And it
I'm pretty sure it does. Yeah. And that's one of the arguments too for not doing these like, hour-long spin classes as your main workout, because yes, cortisol is elevated, but it more so just like becomes almost like chronically elevated. You're not actually sending a very strong signal to learn how to adapt.
Mm-hmm.
It's just another thing that you're doing to make yourself tired on top of everything else that you do to kind of keep you chronically, stressed and all out of whack. Whereas when we do these more short, intense signal sending, you need to adapt messages like to our bodies, like HIIT and strength training. Yeah, cortisol gets like really elevated during that, but then it's like, it like teaches it how to come down, and it goes like down lower than baseline.
Yeah, any kind of stress is like that's acute is usually good, as long as it's not insane. As long as you're not doing some insane. It's kind of like going out in the sun, right? You go out in the sun, and if you go out in the middle of July and you've never been out there before, that might be too much,
for
if
like
you go out there for hours.
Yeah.
It's going to be the intensity and whatever. But if you start going out in April, you're teaching your body to, you start having defenses and your skin starts turning darker, and then you need to go out longer and for more intense periods to continue to get tan. And by the time August comes, I have to be out in the sun for like 5 hours to even see a difference,
Let's, would you be open to doing a little bit more digging on those different topics and rediscussing it next week?
Yeah, I'm gonna I'll look up all of the Stacy Sims podcasts and listen to all of them, because I don't disagree with everything she says, but like I said, like sometimes when I hear stuff like that, I'm like, I don't.
Yeah. Well, I know that she was just on the Mel Robbins podcast, right? And those clips are going around with Mel Robbins. But Mel Robbins she likes to grab on to something and make it sound really extreme. Yeah. So like it was like this one clip is going around is about like being fasted, right? And whatever. And like, oh, you need to eat. Every woman needs to eat. And Stacy Sims is like, yes. But like, if you really listen to the whole thing, she's just saying that it's a lot more optimal if you have a little something, even if it's just milk in your coffee. Like she was very like, it's just better. And it's based on the studies. And the way that I kind of viewed it is like, people who were like hit as a child and then they say they're fine now. And it's like, well, yeah, you're fine. But how much better would you be if you weren't beat? Like, that's how I think of it, is like, you are fine, but would you be even better? And you might not even notice the difference if you had a little something.
I agree that it's more optimal to have a little bit of food. But the podcast I listened to, that's not what she said. She didn't say it was more optimal. She said that it was basically, she didn't say it in these words, but basically she was implying that it's useless to work out without eating something first. And I hate it, because it's like, if someone listens to that and they're like, well, I don't have time to eat before I work out, so maybe I should just not work out because it's pointless. I don't like that message. Yeah.
I do agree. I agree. And that's a general thing that I say for everybody. Like, no matter who the person is that you're getting the information from, if it makes you feel alarmed or scared, it's probably off. And you need to listen to that. Yeah.
It was, and that's what it was. It was something about your hypothalamus, which is she's talking
about the hypothalamus a lot.
It like regulates your body, right? It's like keeps your body in homeostasis. So, it is basically, I don't know, it freaks out, I guess, when you don't, it's basically like, oh no, we're working out and there's no food. What's going to happen? We need to store all of our fat. Yeah.
Well, maybe and it's just in a very unintelligent way to end this, but like if the glucose is there, yes, glycogen in your muscles, like you said from your dinner the night before, there could be some other factor that's coming into play from hormones, hypothalamus, whatever it may be, that's stopping your body from being able to utilize it.
I've never heard anybody else to say that, and there's a lot of other people who I understand men and women are different, but there are other people who do things with women also, and I've never heard anyone say, why is the glycogen there, Jaime, if we can't use it? Like, why is our muscles storing it if they're like, well, it's just gonna sit there. It's just gonna sit there. It's just, we don't like to use it. It's just it's just to be pretty, you know?
Yeah. And there's also, I think Jordan Syatt did a reel or whatever where he like went through that clip and pulled up like all of these. He was like, this person is extremely fit and and trains in the morning fasted. This person clearly has muscle and they work out when they haven't eaten. I've always listened to her, but more recently I've just been listening to a lot of her stuff. Dr. Gabrielle Lyon, and she's all about building muscle, and she's always on stage and she's always wearing like short skirts or dresses, and I swear she's doing it just to show off her legs. Like she's got like really big leg muscles, and she's like, 100%. See, I know what I'm talking about, guys. Look at me. You know, I really think that's what she does. But she's really fit, and she says that she works out in the morning fasted. And then she was saying on one podcast, but they didn't go into detail on it, that there's actually benefits to working out fasted, like strength training fasted. It releases something. So I want to look more into that too and see what that's about. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're looking for something to confirm your bias.
No, I'm not.
Confirmation bias. Give me all the studies that prove me right. I'm just kidding.
No, I'm not, because I'm just going to do it anyway. But at the same time, you know, when you do something and then you're like, oh, everyone's telling me I shouldn't do it this way. Everyone's telling me I shouldn't do it this way. But then you hear something that's like, oh, it could actually be good to do it this way. You know?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. If you find it, let me know.
Okay.
I will up Stacy Sims shit right now.
Okay.
All right. I think that was good.
Yeah. Sorry. Stole that one.
That was a good thing. It's good to have natural, organic topics.
Yeah. If you have any organic topics that you want us to talk about, let us know.
Make sure they're organic. Don't go searching. As long as it just popped in your head, comment below.
All right.
Awesome. If you liked this, please share it with a friend, like it, subscribe, all the stuff. It's good for the algorithm. And we'll see you next week.
Bye.